Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94 here, back with another reaction video. Today, we're finna react to what the fuck is happening in video game in the video game industry. That is a very good question. What the fuck is going on? GTA is putting extended gameplay footage on fucking Netflix, making you go through a paywall so that way they can get advertiser dollars, so that to make you watch. So why the industry is getting to a point where it's gonna get bad. It's gonna get bad. It's gonna be at this worst, and either gaming is going to die. I don't think gaming is going to die. I think it's too many dick riders in the gaming space, because gaming used to be a niche. Like, not that many. Like, listen, gamers game, but not at this level. Everybody can game now. You can game on your computer, you can game on a console, you can game on a phone or a tablet, you know what I'm saying? Like, or you can get a Steam Deck type of thing, you know what I'm saying? Outside of that, I don't think gaming is going to die per se. I think gaming is going to get worse, and many people are going to start walking away from it. The people that actually use their fucking brains, either going to walk away from it, go into emulation. Pirating is going to be a big problem, and a lot of these companies are going to start saying no piracy, please, no piracy, no emulation. Nah, it's gotten to a point where y'all won't let us play the game. We just trying to play the game and have fun, brother. If we can't play the game and have fun, then fuck you, plain simple. But I digress. But anyways, though, yeah, the video game industry is at its worst right now. It's at its best because there's a lot of gamers. The companies are actually starting to put out more games now. But for the most part, this is probably the worst time to be a video gamer because of everything that's going on. But I digress, though. But anyways, though, without further ado, let's get right into this.
Depending on what you actually count as a video game, the industry is now generating somewhere between $200 and $350 billion a year in annual revenue, making it by far the largest entertainment sector in the world, regardless of what
they be making so much money, but yet still try to figure out ways to squeeze you for every dime they can get out of you.
Whatever your exact definitions may be. More people are playing video games than ever before. They are playing them for longer, and the not-so-secret reality is that video game companies have gotten a lot better at getting money out of them while they are. The vast majority of revenue in this industry now comes from in-game purchases and advertising, even amongst games that already have an upfront purchase cost or a recurring subscription. Now, obviously this hasn't been great for gamers, but at least a growing user base of people playing longer, spending more, and getting advertised to all across more platforms has been good for the shareholders, right? Wrong. Some of the largest companies in the industry have experienced huge stock declines, multiple rounds of restructuring, narrowly avoided bankruptcy, mass layoffs, and divestitures. Over what should have been the best half-decade in the history of the industry, the overall market is down by as much as 30% from its peak, in the same time that the broader market has more than doubled. So, how is it possible that even with record sales, record new revenue streams, record numbers of new players, and record new opportunities to monetize that new audience, video game companies have still managed to screw this up so badly?
Video game maker Electronic Arts announcing a $55 billion deal to go private, and what is said to be the largest leveraged buyout deal in Wall Street history.
More than 150 million Americans are estimated to play video games. 60% of them do so every day.
Xbox is playing with fire, putting ads, a mobile gaming tactic, into their platform.
Electronic Arts and Take-Two Interactive both make a staggering 75% of their money from what's called microtransactions.
Microsoft announcing it is cutting about 4,800 jobs, or roughly 2.1% of the company's global workforce. The layoffs include 1,600 Xbox workers, with more expected later this year.
So, like every good shameless business video essayist, I am going to try and make what should be a pretty basic industry analysis into something bigger and more grandiose than it probably actually is, including the standard issue commentary on society itself. So, you've been warned, I guess. But in this case, there genuinely are a few factors beyond just a handful of companies making a long list of dumb decisions to create the worst of times in what should be the best of times. So, the logical place to start is that long list of dumb decisions. Video game companies have seen that their product involves software, people coding, and development cycles, and concluded that they are basically just tech companies. They have also seen that they have IP, storylines, and fans, and have concluded that they are media companies. Conveniently, tech companies are worth lots of money, so a lot of the businesses in this space were happy to go in this direction thinking it would translate into tech-level valuations, and for a while, it did. But in the end, what they actually ended up doing was combining the worst lessons of the tech industry with the worst lessons of the media industry. The first was that they overhired in 2020 and 2021 during lockdowns, assuming that the pandemic boom in new gamers would go on forever. Examples like Epic Games swelled to around 5,000 employees along the way. This led to the current wave of layoffs, especially since layoffs are contagious in tech. Nobody stock gets punished for cutting staff in the same quarter that everybody else is cutting staff. Industry trackers count around 45,000 gaming jobs cut between 2022 and the middle of last year, 14,600 of them in 2024 alone, and the rounds have kept coming through this year. The second problem with trying to emulate tech companies was the obsession with making acquisitions. Microsoft in particular has gone on a massive spending spree acquiring studios to create the Netflix of gaming. They spent $7.5 billion for ZeniMax and then $68.7 billion for Activision Blizzard, the largest acquisition in the history of the industry, alongside a bunch of smaller studios to build out their Game Pass offering. Now, even regular streaming services outside of Netflix have struggled with financial viability, and the same kind of model applied to video games struggled particularly hard for reasons we will get into soon. The point for now is that by the time this shopping spree wrapped up, Microsoft's gaming division alone stood at 22,000 people. As they started struggling with returns and questions from their corporate overlords, they also followed the same model of product enshittification, especially amongst games with a locked-in audience. Game Pass Ultimate got a 50% price.
They shouldn't have did it in the first place. Xbox did it to themselves, bro. If we being honest, Xbox did it to themselves, bro. Nobody told you to buy all these companies up, especially knowing that some of these companies were in debt. The fuck is wrong with you? Nah, they did this to themselves. If anything, they should have just... Xbox should have just started making their own IPs, bro. They needed their own IPs. That's why they shit so fucking bad, bro. That's why they not making as much money as they should be making, bro. Because you didn't put out your own IPs at a time where everybody was in the house. Everybody was isolated from each other. That was the perfect time to say, hey, you know what? Instead of acquiring all these businesses, let's just start putting out IPs. Let's put out a bunch of video games and let's see how they work. You know what I'm saying? Give people something to play. You got the Game Pass. You already had that in the bag. All you had to do was start making your own games, making your own IPs. Nah, let's buy up all these companies, let them make IPs, and then barely promote the shits. And even if they do good, we still gonna get rid of them because we paid too much money and we in debt.
Hike in a single announcement
Stupid
last year.
motherfuckers.
And Xbox itself has now announced 3 separate console price rises in 15 months, which I am told will be devastating for the 3 people still looking to buy one. Beyond just Microsoft, the whole industry is playing a game of eat or be eaten, with 189 M&A deals in the industry in 2025 alone, according to the investment bank Drakestar, worth a record $161 billion, around 14 times the deal value of the year before. To be fair, this was pushed up considerably by the $55 billion Electronic Arts buyout led by the Saudi Public Investment Fund, which is the largest all-cash leverage buyout ever recorded, in any industry. Assuming regulators actually let it close, which, well, they probably will. More acquisitions have also furthered the trend of layoffs, as a lot of the time, these companies are just interested in the IP, not the development teams themselves. Embracer Group, an investment and holding company, rolled up more than 130 studios before their money ran out. The resulting unwind involved cutting around 4,500 employees and closing 44 studios. Around 80 projects just got canceled outright, while the surviving franchises got packaged into a new company for a fresh stock listing. In such a rapidly growing space, they assumed the Silicon Valley spend money and they will come mindset would work here as well. In hindsight, it clearly hasn't worked out. But, well, why were they wrong? Well, a few reasons. The first is that a lot of gamers aren't actually gamers. They are just people who happen to play a video game, which might sound like the world's sweatiest gatekeeping, but I am certainly in this category as well. In the early 2000s, gaming was still a fairly niche hobby, particularly focused on younger people, primarily men, on gaming consoles, and an even more niche group that played on their PCs. In this time, online gaming was still in its infancy, and most people had a drawer full of titles they would play through depending on what they felt like. The primary content of these games was a campaign or a simple gameplay loop. That has obviously changed. Over the past 20 years, even though the number of titles and players kept going up, the number of games people actually spend their time in went down. While making this video, I looked back through my old binder, and there were at least 20 games that I would play on any given year in rotation. Today, I play 2 games, and while I would like to make an excuse like I am getting old and just have more responsibility these days, the truth is I probably spend longer playing these games in any given week than I did playing all of these. Beyond the personal anecdote, this is a documented trend across the wider industry. Unlike other media like music or movies, people can commit far more time to consuming a video game, and live service games and a multiplayer focus can extend that time commitment to basically infinite. The only real limitation is the number of hours people have in a day, and an increasing share of those hours are being spent on forever games.
Yep.
Despite recent trends and understandable complaints, video gaming is still largely a very cost-effective form of entertainment, but the
Bruh, due to me streaming so much, I haven't played a game and I haven't touched none of these consoles in I want to say 2 months now. It's been 2 months since I've touched the Xbox, the PlayStation, or even like booted up one of these games. Like I ain't booted up. I got so many games I'm supposed to be playing right now, but I ain't even touching them right now. It be like that though. It be like that. But yeah, I personally believe that, you know, with all these games and stuff, it's a mixed bag. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think that if you play video games, you play video games. If you don't, you don't. It is what it is. I'm just not playing video games at the moment because I'm busy. And when you're busy trying to fulfill something else, you know what I'm saying? The video games get put to the side. It'd be like that. I ain't gonna even hold you. Like I said, I haven't touched this Xbox in months. I don't even do nothing on this X. I don't even play the Xbox to play Xbox games. I play the Xbox to play PlayStation 2 games. Because it's a fucking emulator. I emulate games. I emulate PlayStation 2 and GameCube games on an Xbox, bro. I have a PC. I got a bunch of pirated games on here, but yeah, I've barely played any of them so far.
Limit new games are running into is not that their customers are running out of money to spend, it's that they are running out of time to spend, as most of their hours are already accounted for. According to Newzoo's playtime tracking, in 2024, 57% of total playtime was spent on games 6 or more years old, a further 32% on games 1 to 5 years old, and only 12% on games released that year. Back in 2021, those older games were only taking 39% of playtime. That share has climbed 18 points in 3 years. For PC, this trend is even more concentrated amongst older gamers, with 67% of playtime going to 6-year-old games, even though they theoretically have a wider selection of independent new releases at significantly lower prices than console games. An extreme example of this is that one of the writers here at Works Media, not pointing any fingers, has over 10,000 hours playing League of Legends, and an otherwise totally neglected library full of Steam games. The top 5 titles on PC accounted for 30.4% of all hours on their own, and Fortnite by itself was 9.3% of all track playtime across PC and console combined. So while in theory the total addressable market is better than ever, most of these studios are actually just fighting over a shrinking pile of scraps. Industry analyst Matthew Ball estimated that outside of annualized franchises, thousands of games backed by tens of billions of dollars were competing for around 5.6% of total player hours, and 4 titles won half of it. So yeah, the industry has basically broken into studios that have managed to create a hit game and they're just milking it, and studios taking huge risks on the hope that they can produce the next one. It's just simply much harder to sell a casual $70 game these days, which has created some much more serious downstream problems. So it's time to learn how money works to find out how the gaming industry is imploding under the weight of its best years ever. Okay, so gamers are basically barricaded inside the same 5 games they've been playing for a decade, which has led many studios to conclude that the only logical move is to create the next big live service game or die trying. This has created a trend of massive games with limitless features put together by huge teams with enormous budgets. The problem is that if these games fail to break through, they become extremely expensive dead weights. This also means that even at full price, a lot of these titles can't make their money back on unit sales alone, so they are leaning more on in-game purchases and in-game advertising.
And nobody finna buy this shit because you don't. This the problem. A lot of these games out here doing this live service shit, and you ain't even established nothing yet. You know what I'm saying? Like with Fortnite, it was free. It was free. It was different. It was like, okay, this is wacky. This is weird. I can get hip to this. And everybody started playing it. The next thing you know, the games that normally dominate, like the 2Ks, the Maddens or whatever, people gave up on them. It was like, yeah, them shits ain't good this year, but I like this Fortnite shit because it's free and I can have fun with my friends, and it's just fun and it's competitive and it's wacky and it's fun. So, you know what I'm saying? When it came to Fortnite, they brought something to the table. But it seems like with all the rest of these companies, they just don't understand that you can't make a soulless product and then you can't make a soulless product, put microtransactions on it, and then be like, all right, give us your money. No, it's no work like that. At that point, nobody's coming to buy that weak ass console, bro, or that weak ass game, bro. Because all it takes is for one person to be like, bro, this ain't got nothing to it. Like with Fortnite, at least there was something there. With this shit, The shit that these people doing, what Sony is doing, what EA is doing, what everybody's doing, trying to make these live service games to get to milk as much as possible. No. How about establish a game first, see if people would enjoy an online service for it, and if they do, then go for it. But it like, nah. We just at that point now where companies are gonna do what they gonna do, and they just gonna have to learn to suffer for it. That's just me. I feel like companies just gonna have to learn to suffer for it, because I feel like that will destroy. If not the consumers, because as the consumers, we could have easily destroyed the video game industry. We could have easily made everybody broke, because the moment they start losing money, a lot of these studios are gonna go. And what these studios are going to start doing is they're going to downsize, and they're going to be like, you know what? Hey guys, we're sorry. We didn't mean to, abuse you guys the way we did. We just had all these investors and all this other stuff. No, you suffer. No, you go on over there and you suffer. Because you made shitty ass games and you thought putting microtransactions on them was going to lead to me just continuing to buy this. No, absolutely not. So if it's not going to be the consumer, it's going to be them and the investors. At some point, people are just going to start walking away from these games. At some point, people aren't going to have the funds, because due to the economy, people just aren't going to have the funds to support these companies no more. And when it gets to that point, you're going to see a big decline in gaming, because companies are going to start shriveling up, and it's going to get worse from there. So if it's not the consumer, it'll be the way how everybody living right now. Like I said, for the motherfuckers that's living paycheck to paycheck, you know what I'm saying? You don't make a lot of money. You just make enough to get by. For the most part, you won't be able to afford games anymore. And I feel like that's a good thing. I feel like that will destroy. I think let the greed continue. That's what I feel like. Let the greed continue. And when it gets to that point where this shit is no longer affordable, it's no longer fun, it's only about money, greedy, gimme. When it gets to that point, I think that's when the gaming bubble will crash, and there will be a reset, a hard reset, because the money is going to go away. The investors are going to go away. The once the investors go away, I think gaming can be at a better place. I think gaming will be at a better place. I do, however, think that a lot of companies will be gone, but I think it'll be a good reset. That a new reign of gaming companies can come up. Some independent guys can come up, and they could help fix could help fix and what's the word I'm looking for? Reestablish the gaming market. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we start making games $40-$50. You know what I'm saying? Make games like $40-$30. You know what I'm saying? Instead of making them $100. Trying to overprice a game. Let's not put microtransactions in it. Let's let the people have fun with the game first. You know what I'm saying? And if we want to move into a place where we need to make more money, then maybe we start putting little microtransactions, but for light things like cosmetics and shit like that. Not for them to win. Pay this to win. Get the best weapons. Get the best this. Get the best that. No. I feel like when we get to, when the gaming industry gets to that point, I feel like gaming will be in a better place again. But as of right now, I say let the greed take over, because the greed will be the downfall. It will be the downfall. You niggas are not going to be able to afford this shit going forward. When gaming reaches $100, you will no longer be able to afford this. Gaming is right there. They're $20 away now. Gaming is $20 away from 100. No video game is worth 100. When video games are competing with the consoles and prices, something's wrong here. But like I said, let the greed take over. Once the greed gets to that point, the bubble will burst. We can reset this shit. We can reset this shit, reestablish it, and make it better for the next generation. But I digress.
If these never eventuate, because nobody ends up spending that much time in the game, losses can be devastating even with decent upfront sales. And of course, it's a lot worse without them. Sony spent 8 years and a reported $200 million on developing Concord, their big hero shooter answer to Overwatch. It sold an estimated 25,000 copies, and the servers were switched off 2 weeks after launch with full refunds all around. Warner Brothers did the same thing with their Suicide Squad game, which missed so badly that the company disclosed a $200 million hit to earnings. And then they did it again a few months later with a $100 million write-down, mostly pinned on multiverses. Now, I know it's fun to point and laugh, but it's going to keep happening. Because of the network effect of these games, the results are increasingly polarized. They are either a smash hit or a monumental failure. People want to play games with their friends, so they play the games their friends are playing. And if their friends aren't playing a given game, they probably won't either. Helldivers 2 or Marvel Rivals, or even something like Among Us and Mecha Chameleon have broken through, and they are printing money from people who want something to play with their friends, but that self-reinforcing concentration means everything else is running a greater risk of becoming another Concord. But the problem is now, even if they do find a cash cow, there's an incentive to milk it until it curdles to find the next mega development. Sony paid $3.6 billion for Bungie in 2022, then tapped Destiny as hard as they could to fund the development of Marathon, and then Marathon flopped as well. Sony has now written down around $766 million on that studio in a single fiscal year. Destiny 2 got its final content update last month, and about half of Bungie has been laid off. Even the biggest winner of them all is slowing down. Fortnite engagement has been falling since 2025. Epic laid off over 1,000 people this year, saying that they were spending significantly more than they were making, and we have to make major cuts to keep the company funded. This heavy push towards live service games that dominate people's time and drive recurring spending also means that people are increasingly treating games as a social outlet. Potentially, you might even say some modern version of a third place. As such, and hot take alert, a lot of people don't really want something new. They want something familiar. Friends like to hang out in common environments, and especially as the average gamer gets older, now 36 years old in America, that becomes even stronger. This trend of playing fewer games but playing them for much longer also explains the challenges that came with the subscription services like Game Pass. In theory, a modest monthly subscription for access to a massive library of games was a great deal, and probably more cost-effective than getting a similar selection of content through something like Steam. The problem was that people were only playing a small selection of games anyway, so having access to hundreds of titles didn't really mean much when they were only actually playing 2 of them. Microsoft reportedly set itself an internal target of 77 million Game Pass subscribers by this year. Again, assuming that this was just another streaming service or tech offering,
They probably could have reached it if they never raised their prices as high as they did, like fucking dumbasses. And then you made the Xbox super unaffordable. So if I can't afford an Xbox, what make you think I'm gonna buy Xbox? This nigga's stupid. Like I said, let the greed take over. Once the greed takes over, everything will destroy itself, and we can get back to what gaming used to be, the good old days.
wasn't completely unreasonable. In reality, it got to 34 million, tried that 50% price hike from earlier to squeeze more out of the subscribers it did have, and promptly lost around 4 million of them. Now, of course, this is a generalization. Everybody spends their time differently, and if you are personally someone that likes to try a new title every month, congratulations, you are probably having a lot more fun than everybody else. But for everybody else, there is one place left to actually find extra hours in people's day. Mobile. People just spend more time on their phones than sitting down at a dedicated PC or console to do gaming. This becomes
I don't even play mobile games. I don't even play mobile. And they got emulators and shit, but I don't be, nah. And my phone is capable of playing emulators, but nah, it's not for me. Nah. If I'm gonna do something like that, I'm gonna go buy a Steam Deck or something like that, or the equivalent of a Steam Deck, or I'll just buy a fucking Nintendo Switch. What the fuck would I don't see nothing good about playing games on my phone. I really don't see nothing about playing games on my phone. I don't see nothing positive about that. Maybe in my younger years, I used to play a lot of games. We used to play like Sonic the Hedgehog, NBA Jam and shit on there. But like now, bro, I could just get a Nintendo Switch and call it a day.
Particularly true for the filthy washed masses of more casual gamers. The share of direct mobile game revenue is now bigger than PC and console combined, $103 billion last year against $86 billion for the other two put together. Now, you probably already knew all this, but the point is that this can be a lot more lucrative, because mobile games are generally much simpler in design and development and also have a system more naturally conducive to microtransactions.
I ain't gonna lie, I had played Candy Crush not that long ago on the phone. That's like the last game I think I ever played on my phone was Candy Crush. Dog, you can only play for a certain amount of time. They literally let you play. They literally let you play for like 5 turns. So if you fuck up like 5 times, they'll be like, "Oh, you can't play anymore." What you mean I can't play anymore? What's the purpose of me buying it? It's like, no, you gotta pay us $5 to keep playing for the rest of the day. If you want to play for the rest of the day, you gotta pay us $5. Other than that, have a nice. Other than that, you gotta wait. You gotta wait for like what, 8 hours? You gotta do a 8-hour wait before you can start playing the game again. I said I would never play a mobile game again. They are telling you when you can and when you cannot play a game. You have to pay to play a game. A game that's free, and because I lost or my thing ended or my session ended 5 times, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, yo, I'm getting into it. I'm like, yo, yeah, I'm getting into it. I'm trying to beat my high score or whatever. And the fact that you can only play this shit 5 times before they hit you with the give us $5 and you can play for the rest of the day. I said never again. Never again. Mobile games have turned into the mobile games. You like what is the purpose of playing a mobile game if I can't play it for the whole day? I can only play it for a certain amount of time or a certain amount of tries. That don't make no sense. The fact that I have to pay $5 to play the game for the rest of the day. And if you don't play, then you got to wait 8 hours to play the game again. Immediately deleted it off my app and never looked back at it again. Candy Crush is a scam, bro. Fuck Candy Crush.
Often, payment can be handled through the same phone that people are playing on, which strips out the transaction friction that games on other platforms have to fight through. Again, this is well documented. But if studios are going to choose a proper game for real gamers, there needs to be a very good commercial reason why they wouldn't spend the same resources on building dozens of games for a much larger, more lucrative market. The only real justification is the chance at making the next big live services game. On the other end of the development spectrum, it's never been easier for independent studios or even individual people to create their own game and publish it thanks to robust game engines and platforms like Steam or even Roblox. But this means that basic indie games are an incredibly crowded space with immense competition. More than 19,000 games were released on Steam last year alone, and nearly half of them got fewer than 10 user reviews. To differentiate themselves, game companies have felt the need to create significantly higher-end titles that wouldn't be possible for smaller teams to put together. This has created a missing middle of games that are a cut above the indie selection in terms of features, but aren't monster AAA titles that cost more than Avatar to make. Court documents filed by Activision revealed that Black Ops Cold War cost around $700 million to develop before marketing, despite, well, let's be honest, not really being that much different from any other COD games released in the last 10 years. In the past, studios could try to create a consistent roster of decent games. If one of them did well, that was great. If one of them flopped, that wasn't ideal, but it wasn't crippling. Today, even the biggest studios are kind of going all in on the success of their next release with very little margin of error if it doesn't work out. Now, to play devil's advocate a bit here, betting big is not totally irrational when one Fortnite can pay for 20 flops. But the problem is that everybody is making that same bet at the same time into the same fixed pool of player hours. The frustrating part is that when anybody actually funds the middle, it can still work. Expedition 33 was made by a core team of around 30 people for under $10 million, sold 5 million copies in its first 6 months, and swept the Game Awards. It obviously can work, but I guess you also need to actually make a good game, which capital investment alone can't guarantee. And even if it does, it's probably going to get ripped off anyway. So yeah, the third big issue is clearly one that is not unique to gaming. If you ever see a YouTube video that does well, you can be pretty sure that there will be 20 other videos that copy it in the coming months, because making an original YouTube video normally takes a fair amount of time and effort, and if it doesn't do well, it can cause serious problems. Copying a video is easy. It comes with some guarantee of success. That's the exact reason why I've decided to mix things up and steal the Smoothie King's talking points and thumbnail for this video. Now hopefully it goes without saying that I am joking. I will always leave a link in the description below, and we mostly discuss different things. But the point is, this clearly happens everywhere on YouTube as people just naturally follow basic incentives. The same is true 10 times over for video games. Any game that does well is going to be copied by dozens of people with tools that make basic game design relatively simple. This is especially the case with people porting paid indie games into Roblox for free with inbuilt microtransactions. Last summer, Peak, one of Steam's best-selling games of the month, got cloned owned on Roblox almost immediately. The copy pulled in 6 million visits in about 2 weeks, monetized with Roblox's own microtransaction system, while the studio that actually made the game got nothing. The game developers said that they would rather you pirate their game than play the microtransaction-riddled Roblox slop ripoff, which is a sentence an actual game studio felt the need to post in 2025.
Damn.
Roblox is running 132 million daily users and 31 billion hours of engagement every quarter, which the same Matthew Ball from earlier estimates is about the same engagement as Steam, PlayStation, and Fortnite combined. Now, obviously, this is bad, but the point is for large studios, it further means that they need to make games with some kind of moat around them to defend against obvious ripoffs. And the easiest one is to make something too complex to copy, and then integrate recognizable IP in addition to some guarantee of players being around for consistent online multiplayer. Now, it sounds bad, but it gets worse because this has literally already happened before. The last time this industry drowned itself in cheap copies of whatever it was selling, it was 1983, and the American home video game market fell by around 97% in 2 years. So yeah, I'm not exactly going to feel bad for the big gaming companies. They have made plenty of their own mistakes and have leaned into anti-consumer practices to compensate for their own failing. But it's not been an easy time to be a game studio either. Now, if you want to see this whole dynamic play out on a wider scale, go and watch this video next to unpack the financial reasons we keep on making so much junk. And don't
Alrighty, man. That's just gonna about do it for this one, man. Most definitely. Most definitely, man. That shit right there is, in my personal opinion, that's, yeah. Game, like I said, man, let the greed take over, man. Once the greed gets to a point where it's destroying the industry as a whole, I think we'll be in a better place. That's just me personally. But anyway, so that's just gonna about do it for this one. I will see you all in the next video. Till then, this is